In today's video, I'm going to talk about how source energy is at the core of all manifestation, magic, daily life, reality building, timeline shifting, quantum leaping, all of these things. So if you're newly on your spiritual awakening journey, or if you're a seasoned veteran looking to refresh some of your fundamental knowledge, stick around till the end of the video where I have one of my most powerful insights to share. Okay, starting off, what is God's source energy? It comes by a variety of names. Some people call it life force energy, chi, or ki if you're from Japan. It's called prana in yogic philosophy from India. It's called energy in the West, ashe in African traditional religions, and some might argue the Holy Spirit in Christian religion. So what does it mean in practical purposes? Let's begin with energy from a physical level. Energy, in essence, is the capacity for movement, vibration. What this means is the fundamental building blocks of all that we see and that exists in the physical realm is made of moving particles. And that movement can be translated as energy. One of the world's most celebrated minds in physics, Albert Einstein, was the first to coin E equals mc squared. Energy and matter and movement are the same. So let's bring this back together. The world around us is composed of atoms, and those atoms vibrate. Matter and movement are the same. Now, how does this apply to spirituality, to everyday magic, to manifestation? Well, this is where it gets interesting. There's another principle called quantum entanglement. What is quantum entanglement? It's a term to say that there are measurable things in existence that can be separated by huge distances, and that if you apply an action to it here, the same action will apply there. Like twin or mirror particle. Something happens to this here, the same thing happens to it there. The last scientific principle example has to do with the double-slit experiment. It's mind-boggling for scientists. And what is that? Well, scientists tried to measure particles and to see where and how they traveled. So they put a ray gun at one end, they put a little barrier with some slits in it, and then a receptor on the other side. The point was to shoot particles from the ray gun through the slits to capture where they would land on the other side of the receptor. And I'll put a little image on top to help you visualize it a little better because my explanation. Okay. So they knew that if they shot those particles from the gun, they wouldn't travel in a straight line. They would meander a little and go across several of the slits. And they just expected to see one of those straight lines, a whole bunch of things on every part of the receptor along those slits. Well, unexpectedly, and this is the mind-boggling part, they ran the experiment and they noticed pattern emerging on the receptor. Okay, cool. So this is how particles behave. Okay, we've learned something. And then they ran the experiment while no one was watching. Are you still with me? While no one was watching, while there was no consciousness in the room present to observe, just the receptor. And what did they realize then? That the particles behaved differently than they did when the scientists were present to observe the effects. And they tried it again, and they tried it at different distances. They tried a variety of ways. The moment there was direct observation of that particle gun and that receptor, the particles either exhibited the behavior of a wave, or a particle, little individualized things. What? So you're probably asking yourself, okay, Maria, get to the point, why is this important? Okay, well, this is why it's important. It means that our consciousness, our observation, our being there, our thinking about things, our observing things, has a direct influence on the basic building blocks of the universe. Our consciousness has an influence on the basic building blocks of the universe. Everything around us is made of these particles. And therefore, our very consciousness is influencing the behavior, the structure, the expression of everything in the world. Everything in the world, everything you see around you is influenced by your consciousness. Let's bring it back to quantum entanglement. Okay? Your influence around you is real. It exists. And not only that, but anything that can happen to one piece of matter here can happen somewhere else. Consciousness creates reality through the energy of thoughts, because your thoughts are energy, making physical calculations using matter particles of your brain. If your consciousness is creating what's external, then your consciousness can create something in your mind that is activated, that is manifested somewhere in the physical world. So let's untangle this a little bit more, because this is getting big. This is like mind-popping knowledge that I'm dropping here. Okay. Now with the science out of the way. So putting it all together, what does that mean for our spirituality, our ability to manifest, our day-to-day practical magic? Well, for any doubters, it tells you that it's real. And that science, even though a lot of people find this information in the scientific community controversial, they'll all come around in a couple of decades. But there is a provable scientific basis for this. And it's real. God is real. Reality is what you make of it. Everything around you is an expression of your consciousness, because your consciousness affects matter. Your consciousness affects reality. The energy that you apply to your thoughts, the actions that you take towards an intention and a goal, creates energy, and that manifests into the world. And why would that be the case? Because you, my very sweet darlings, are an expression of God's creation itself. You are God incarnate. God is a loaded term. The way I understand it is that God is all that there is. God is consciousness. And consciousness is being aware, knowing that you exist, being an observer. God is the first observer. And all that it had to be was to be, I am that I am, in biblical scriptures. And this is a concept that has been picked up across the world through a variety of spiritual practices, including the yogis, including ancient Egypt, including modern spiritualism. I am that I am. Just being aware. That is God. The greatest consciousness is God. And God being so vast, so all-encompassing, and so hungry for knowledge, split part of itself, herself, their self, to create existence. So keyword is create, such that it would orchestrate every imaginable scenario, every possible experience, feeling, reality, so that it can create the greatest story of all time, which is all of the stories of all of the people, all of the things in existence, just existing, running an ever unfolding story, told from a variety of ways, transforming, manifesting, recreating itself. And you, therefore, having consciousness, are one of these beautiful emissaries of God, living out an experience, and being part God, you also are a creator of your own existence, a creator of the reality that is within you. And you interact with the realities of the other God consciousnesses, and therefore you are also manifesting yourself in interaction with them. Both of you are constantly creating. There's a reason why the expression is fortune favors the bold. Because you are putting action, you are putting intention behind that boldness to create a scenario, a situation that just wasn't there before. And that is rewarded by the power of your mind, of your consciousness, influencing the matter around you through quantum entanglement, through the double-slit experiment that says that consciousness affects the reality of the world. You are here as a soul being a portion of God, to experience life at its fullest, to grow, to evolve, to have experiences, and to continue to build on that experience as you continue to grow and evolve. But why? It is God's will. How do we know? Well, some of us can feel it. Some of us have experienced it through spiritual enlightenment, Kundalini awakenings. Some of us have reported this from their own experiences with God in moments where they were near death or had temporarily died and had afterlife experiences. And in the afterlife, this was revealed to them. And it's not just one story, it is tens of thousands of documented cases that all share a very similar narrative. That we come to earth, that we are part of God's source, that God loves us, because God is us. And of course, it loves itself. And it is sending us out there to experience so that it can learn, so that it continues to expand and to grow. The world is infinite, consciousness is infinite, and it goes on eternally. And then how do we know that this is our job? Because so many cultures have reported instances of reincarnation of souls having come into contact with source, with other conscious beings, their spiritual court, their teams, their guides, their ancestors, their family members, new team members, whoever that grouping might be. They come and they contract themselves out to have experiences in this life. And they assist others in their own experiences. To have growth, there needs to be tension. Without tension, there is no movement. Without tension, there is no growth. You need the light to have the dark. To have the dark, you need light. Light casts shadows, which is the dark. Darkness comes from the light. Positive experiences require negative experiences to create the contrast so that they can both exist. To have light, you must have dark. Light is God's source. God also created darkness to test us, to allow itself to grow, to create the challenge necessary to evolve. You therefore have a choice in which path you choose to live, which existence you wish to create. As God creator yourself, you can create an existence in which you share more love and light into the universe, expanding your soul, growing, elevating yourselves to higher and higher levels of consciousness until you reach max level, which is full God consciousness. We start at level 0, and our souls grow and evolve and transcend. Your soul can choose that path. Most do, and most grow. Or you can choose the path of those who choose not to take responsibility for their own realities and let realities happen to them. So be bold, my loves. Be bold. You are safe. You are secure. Your soul is eternal. Nothing can harm your soul. Don't be afraid of having uncomfortable experiences in life. That is exactly what you came to do, and to overcome them and to transcend them. As you overcome those difficult circumstances, you become closer and closer to your true source self. There is nothing stopping you from manifesting the greatest possible existence. And by doing that, you also affect reality. You bring the whole of consciousness along with you in your own beautiful timeline of existence. Because all of us as God creators have our own timelines of existence. Reality between two different people may look entirely different because of how our consciousness relates to everything that's happening around us, and we create different realities for ourselves. So what reality, what beauty are you going to manifest in your life, and how are you going to challenge yourself so that you can continue to grow? Embrace the discomfort. It is here to help you, even the most challenging and tragic circumstances in our day-to-day life, as horrible as they may be. I'm talking about loss, illness, violence of all kinds. They are here for a purpose, and it's difficult to hear and it's difficult to acknowledge. But when you recognize that life is not merely this one lifetime, that we have had thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands of lifetimes, and that each of them is just a stepping stone towards more growth, towards more expansion, and becomes a little easier to understand and to bear. All right, my little godlings. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. I hope you've learned something. How do you relate to the information that I've just shared? Do you have any questions about the principles discussed in this video? This is a growing channel, and I'm trying to reach as many spiritually growing people as possible. But please comment, like, subscribe. This really helps the algorithm reach the right people at the right time. I appreciate you. Thank you. And I'll see you in the next one.